they took some honey from a tree, dressed it up, and they called it me. Well, obviously not me, but that has to be one of my favorite George Harrison songs from way back when. Everybody's Trying to Be My Baby. It goes back to 1965 in the advent of the Beatles' 65 album. We are soon to be joined by a man who's become a friend over the years, over the recent time, Curt Smith. Curt is a very enterprising young fellow, and I don't know about you, but me, I kind of like people who, you know, there was a very intelligent man years ago, I believe it was Dale Carnegie, that said, find a need and fill it, and you'll both make a lot of money and have a happy life in doing it. And Curt, I think, has done that. He is the proprietor, perhaps maybe not a proprietor, but certainly the proponent of something called Ballpark E-Guides, and this is a fella who has taken the time to analyze the dynamics of 14 major league parks as far as coming to the ball game affordably. And I don't know about you, but it's like, to me, it takes an act of Congress to get to a ball game, and it's oftentimes, it's like, well, who can give me a ticket, and who can be where, and who can be there, and I understand we might be having some audio difficulties, so we're going to try to get that straightened out with Curt. But the incredible thing is Curt has really taken the whole thing as far as making this a dynamic and facile process, and things that perhaps you didn't know about as far as ways to get there, ways to eat, ways to have more fun. I've been personally, I've been on the train to the ballpark, and I've talked with parents who are taking their kids to the ballpark, and the thing they tell me is you look at the excitement in the kids, and they've got their little shirts on with their favorite players, and more than one parent has told me it's a situation where they parents have a discussion with the kids, and I think parents should have discussions with kids. My father had plenty of discussions with me concerning his limitations. Frankly, it made me a better person. It made me realize that my father wasn't made of money and that he was a human being. It has helped me through life. But one of the things, these parents are having discussions saying, well, we can go on vacation or we can go to the ball game. And these kids have said, let's go to the ball game. So to the extent that this is happening, Curt is here to make things a little bit more affordable and a little bit more enjoyable and a little less strain on the family budget. And Curt, I can't tell you how happy I am to have you here today. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, Tony. Thanks for having me on.
And I like to call you Major League Baseball's worst enemy. I know you get a chuckle out of that. And can you?
Well, you know, I might just use that on my website. I might just declare myself MLB's worst enemy. That's a good one.
Yeah, because you're kind of hurting the pocket here and finding ways for people to get to the ballpark affordably, which I thought would always be kind of a birthright of you know, American kids growing up, but. Tell us how you got started with this endeavor. We have new people here, and we've had this discussion in the past, but this endeavor of the e-guides and where it has led you and how you're developing it as you go.
Well, I started, you know, I've grown up in the Philadelphia area, and I've lived there my whole life. But we were all Orioles fans in my family. So on occasion, we'd take a trip down to Baltimore to go to Orioles games. Now, as I got older and in my 20s, I started going to Camden Yards fairly frequently for games, maybe 4 or 5 times a year. And I had a favorite spot where I would park. I had a favorite place to get a hot dog outside. I had a guy that I bought peanuts from. You know, I bought outside programs, and you know, there was all these things that I, you know, patted myself on the back for knowing about and saving money doing it. And I thought it might be cool to write a whole book about you know, these ways that you can take advantage of these things at all the ballparks. So I started with my home ballpark of Citizens Bank Park in Philly, thinking that would be easy enough to verify and everything. And when I started doing research, when I started looking through reviews and forums and you know, the team website and everything like that, you know, I just had all these moments where I was just like, wow, I never knew that. You know, like things about like taking the train to the ballpark and you know, places where you could park your car for free on the street. Some people reveal that. Most people like to keep that a secret. But, you know, all sorts of things like that. You know, places where you could get a hot dog for $1, you know, when the gates first open, you know, things like that. And I had so many of those moments that, you know, it took me so long just to do one ballpark that I thought, man, it's going to take me about 3 years to do them all. So I decided to just make them all separate, you know, separate PDF files that people could just download, and I could update them. I could update them a lot more easily and make them available for people without having to go through all the hassles of a publisher and printing and all of that. And so it just kind of built from there, and thankfully my wife has been pretty supportive. And, you know, I've been able to go on a few trips, which is, I've been able to stress to the wife, hey, this is for business, you know, and she's been very good about it. So, and that's kind of where we are. And along the way, I've learned a lot of ways to save money, and you know, just basically just go to any ballpark and save a lot of money.
And you know, it's really something. And the you have chosen a number of parks. I believe you're up to 14 now, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm up to 14 now. I'm going to be adding Rogers Center in Toronto and Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati sometime this year, hopefully like around July, I think. But yes, I have 14 at this point. Fenway Park, Wrigley Field, Yankee Stadium, they're all there, and a few other nice ones.
Now, as far as the information, obviously, the parks themselves, I mean, the life of a ballpark is for a certain number of years. It seems like these days, 30 years, they want to tear it down and get another one up because it doesn't have something or other. So the parks are relatively static. The transit means are relatively static as far as getting there, but yet a lot of the, you know, shall we say, the nuances and the outlets that develop around the parks are in constant change. Now here I am. I'm looking at what you do. You've got 14 amoebas right now. You're going to have 16 amoebas kind of growing out, and, you know, a myriad, as one of my elder dear friends likes to say, of different ways. And how do you keep on top of all of this relevant information?
Well, I can tell you that it's not as bad as you might think. I mean, like you said, there's a lot of things that are static from year to year. Like I have a whole section on getting tickets and seating, and most of that doesn't change much. I know you wanted to talk about the Yankees' new deal with the Ticketmaster. We could talk about that a little bit.
Sure.
Most of that doesn't change very much, though. Like a team might add a new party area. It's not a big deal for me to get on top of that. Same thing with the food choices. You know, they all change from year to year. Like there's usually new things added and some things taken away. But it's usually not, it's rare that a team will do an entire overhaul of all the food they sell. The Orioles did it a couple of years ago, and thankfully I hadn't written the Camden Yards Guide yet. But little things change, but the general bulk of it is usually, you know, and I don't usually update the E-Guides until May, because teams put out their press releases just before opening day about what's changed in the ballpark. So I don't really, it doesn't make much sense for me to update it before that. You know, and that kind of keeps me on top of most of it. I would say, like right now, if you picked up a ballpark E-Guide, it would probably be 95 to 98% accurate. Most of the stuff in there should still be accurate, even going from year to year. Most of it, little things change, but most of it stays pretty much the same.
Well, and put it this way: if I'm where you're at in New Jersey, and I and my son, I do not have one for the record, but I and my young son want to go to Yankee Stadium, and my typical experience is going to be drive, go over the George Washington Bridge, pay a mortgage there, fight the traffic to the park. Park in the garage at Yankee Stadium, another mortgage there, walk in with my overpriced ticket. Then I will have my choice of a number of different souvenir and eating venues. This is like a home equity loan on top of a mortgage. I am a much poorer man when I get into that seat. Now, of course, that kid's excited, and I can't enjoy the game because I'm just thinking, oh my dear, probably like a week's salary just to get there. Now, in that little experience I've described to you and why someone should go out and get one of your e-guides, tell me how that whole thing could be done a whole lot better and cheaper and more efficiently.
Well, coming from New Jersey, you have two great new options right now that I plan to take advantage of a couple of times this year. You have the Mega Bus and the Bulk Bus. I tell the story on my website about going to see the game where Derek Jeter got his 3,000th hit. And one of the things I did was precisely because there's absolutely no way I would drive to Yankee Stadium from New Jersey. That would just, like you said, you're talking about a second mortgage on the house. So, yeah, what I did was I took a bulk bus, and it's $21 round trip. Now, I had to go over to 30th Street Station in Philadelphia to do that, which took some maneuvering. But you can also do it from a parking lot in Cherry Hill. Mm-hmm. Now, you're talking $21 for a trip where you're going to be paying more than that in tolls, let alone the parking and the gas and, you know, whatever traffic you might encounter. So, you know, that saves me a ton of money. Another thing is, you know, buying the tickets. It's going to be interesting to see how it works with the Yankees this year, but buying tickets, there's several different ways to do that. There's, you know, obviously you can buy them through the Yankees directly, or you can buy them, you can go to the box office itself and save yourself the fees. You know, StubHub, eBay, all those sorts of things. And I talk about the advantages and disadvantages of each. Which one you should use depends on the type of game it is. If you're looking at a weekend game against the Red Sox, obviously you don't want to get a StubHub for that. You want to plan ahead, and, you know, that's the best advice I could give at the moment, is to plan ahead. Get on the Yankees newsletter, and then as soon as their multi-game packs or whatever go on sale, you buy that then. Hopefully you can, you know, either use the other tickets or sell them on StubHub. You know, there's all sorts of things like that. You know, I wouldn't inside the ballpark. There's a lot of great food in Yankee Stadium now. I love the Lobel steak sandwich, and you know, you got Carl's cheesesteaks and Johnny Rockets. But, you know, and even for a ballpark, it's overpriced at Yankee Stadium. Sure. And there's a lot of, I think it's becoming more common knowledge now that you can bring your own food to the ballpark. And in the Yankee Stadium guide, I talked about there's a few places like the Court Deli on 161st Street where you can get a sandwich, something like $3-4, a good-sized sandwich, maybe some chips, whatever. There's a Subway, a McDonald's, you know, that's all stuff you can bring in. And you get your bottle of water outside, you can save a lot of money doing that. So I'll tell you what I'll do for you, Tony. The next Yankees game I'll go to, I'll tell you how much the whole thing cost me, so we can, you know, we could go over that.
Yeah, and actually, if you wanted to...
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay.
The person that I used to be. I used to be that guy. I would get the ticket. I would pay for the parking, just drive there, you know, not even consider any other options, and pay through the nose for food. So I know exactly what you're talking about, because I used to be that guy. And, you know, it's like I said, I wish I thought of this sooner.
And you know, if you could run that like against the typical cost, that would be an interesting study. Not to you know, not to leave this remiss. I did read an article, as you know, we were discussing this over the weekend, about the Yankees deal with StubHub that they really don't like being in, and they're claiming that their tickets are underpriced on the site, and they want to take control of their own product and put the tickets exclusively out on their site. I mean, I kind of look at this twofold. Number one, it just kind of shows you the pushing and shoving as to all the stuff that happens on a corporate level. And the other thing is, I'm thinking, well, if I want to go to a Yankee game, I could get a real good price on StubHub, and why don't I take advantage of it while the getting's good?
Right, and I believe the Yankees had a real problem with the fact that there were empty seats in their ballpark for the playoffs.
Yankee Stadium, no.
And I think they held StubHub responsible for that, and not the average ticket price of $225 per game. The Yankees have set up a ticket exchange deal on their website, and the way it's going to work is people that want to sell their tickets can now sell them through Yankees Ticket Exchange. It's not really going to be much different for sellers. It's going to be different for buyers if the Yankees put a floor on the ticket prices, which might be like 35% of the face value of the ticket. Which, you know, if that's what they end up doing, it's not going to be really good for buyers. If you want to get bargain basement prices for a Yankees game, you can still go on StubHub, but the tickets aren't going to be guaranteed like they were in the past, because the Yankees opted out of the StubHub deal this year. All the other teams except for the Angels went along with the new deal with StubHub, and the new StubHub deal is actually much better for fans. I mean, tickets are going to be listed at what they will actually cost the buyer, not you're not going to see those fees as a surprise later on like you will with the Yankees. It's probably not going to be good for people that want to go see a Yankees game cheaply. They're going to have to deal with StubHub, and a StubHub without the guarantee. That might be okay. I mean, time will bear out, but the Yankees, they actually said in their press release that it's been a problem with counterfeit tickets in the past with third-party sellers, and they didn't mention StubHub by name, and that's on purpose because that very likely wasn't a problem with StubHub. With StubHub, your tickets are guaranteed. And I don't think a heck of a lot of people were getting ripped off. I think the Yankees were more concerned that there was just this glut of tickets on the market, and obviously if you wanted tickets to a Yankees game, you went through StubHub, you didn't go through the Yankees website. Well, that's partly because the Yankees, they're charging an awful lot for tickets. So, it remains to be seen. I'm curious to see. StubHub's a little worried about it, I think, because they had this fan freedom march against the Yankees, and it was well known that it was funded by StubHub. But I think they have a point. StubHub presents a picture of the free market. I guess the Yankees don't like that. But
they're the Yankees.
Because if it works for the Yankees, other teams might do it too. I hope not, but that could be the case.
Yeah, and it's just really something. And as far as in just the myriad, to use that word again, of ways, it's an old word, but I like that word, of getting to a ballpark. And I mean, I would imagine, and not that I'm an ardent observer of this, or I really get a lot of opportunities, perhaps I should, but other than like Yankees Red Sox, or perhaps the real hot club comes in, or Yankees Orioles playing for something, it would appear to me, however, that if you want to go to StubHub and it's like the day of game and just say, let me see what I can pluck off the website or something like that, you'll probably end up with a pretty good deal of somebody just trying to spot some tickets somewhere, I would think.
Oh, absolutely. And, and that was part of the thing with late last year, the Phillies were very much a team that didn't live up to expectations. So there was a big lot of tickets on StubHub, and the price of the tickets went way, way down. And I think with the Phillies and a lot of other teams like the Pirates, the concern was not so much that they weren't making a profit off the tickets. I mean, after all, they already sold the ticket. But I think the concern was, hey, people are looking on StubHub for our games, and they're seeing tickets going for as low as 15 cents in some cases. And I think they thought it presented a bad picture of the market. But even if it was the reality, I mean, the Phillies were just a team that Philadelphians did not want to go see late last season, as they were plunging to a 500 record.
Dreadful to watch.
And I think, what's that?
It was dreadful to watch for the Philly fans last year.
Yeah, it was. It was a tough season. I mean, they had all kinds of offensive problems. So with the new deal, you're not going to see any tickets that are lower than $6, but it's actually good for fans because that $6 is going to include, the StubHub fees, the delivery fee, and the
boy, isn't that something?
So it's actually a better deal for fans because I mean, I'm not sure if that's going to be the total cost, but if you see a ticket on sale for $6 at StubHub, that's going to be what you actually pay, as opposed to this new Yankees ticket exchange where you'll see the ticket for maybe $20, and then by the end of it, you're paying $27 because of all the added fees. So, that's just something people are going to have to keep in mind. I think the new StubHub deal is better. The processing fees are actually a little lower for the cheaper tickets, which is great for fans. And plus, it's nice to know that what you see on that page is what you're going to end up paying for the ticket.
And it's amazing, like, I'm just sitting here listening to the discussion, and it's years back. I mean, I used to get baseball tickets by filling books of green stamps or sending in lids to ice cream and cottage cheese, and Oh, what an age we lived in, you know, and and like we saw Mantle and Mays and Seaver, and oh boy, it's a fat chance I'm going to see that again. In our waning moments, I'm curious about something. Now, you've become such an expert in mining this park information and providing what I think is a valuable public service. And personally, the more MLB hates you, the more I might like it. But all of that concern is when you call the clubs and when you get information from the clubs, or you email, or you make inquiry, are they receptive to you for the most part as far as what you might want to ask them?
I don't do a lot of that. That's the kind of thing that I really don't do unless that I really just absolutely cannot find the answer to something that I'm looking to find out. Mm-hmm. When I do ask, they're generally most teams are generally very receptive. They'll gladly answer any questions that I have. I don't tell them who I am, maybe because I'd be their most hated guy. But honestly, I don't think they would mind. I mean, I've told teams in the past, like I've told tour guides when I take the tour of the ball club, hey, this is something I'm doing, so I'm here getting pictures. Let me know if you have any problem with that. But yeah, teams are generally very receptive. The problem a lot of times is just getting a response in some cases.
Sure.
A lot of times you can contact the team and they might decide you're not worth answering. But most of the time, if you have a question about something, like if you have a question about, say, like what time the gates are open for a special night or something like that, they'll be glad to answer that question. And if you ask them about parking at a certain time, can I leave my car there overnight, that kind of thing. Generally, they're very good about responding to that.
Well, and I'm sure people that work in the organizations, and the funny thing is, and if you've dabbled at all in the sports fraternity, or I've known people that have been in sports organizations and things like that, the players are played at this fanatical level. I mean, it's absolutely insane. The major league minimums are insane. You get both food and meal money on the road, which frankly floors me to this day. You get down to the minors, and they're traveling on cruddy buses with hand-me-down uniforms, and you got one guy that maybe warms up pitchers and keeps score and maybe writes the payroll checks, and he's your judge and jury of everything. And then as you get into the administrative offices, it's like if they could pay something lower than a minimum wage, they probably would. Which I never really could understand this whole kind of tilt and topple economics thing, but I think you probably get a lot of sympathetic souls that are out there saying, yeah, I should be paid more and people should be able to come to the park. What's wrong with that? It's like...
Yeah, well, yeah, and it's... like I said, I'm trying to not just help people save money, but just to make sure that that they're able to get a good seat and that they get the most out of the experience. There's things that you run into, like traffic and things like that. You and I, we both love going to ball games. We both would. You and I probably both would take a small salary to do with
Sure.
to work in the front office or something like that. So. Yeah, and I would hope if I did tell the team about it, that they'd be receptive to that. But, I mean, it's not like I keep hidden. It's not like I have a hidden website that people need a password to access. Major League Baseball probably knows I'm there. They haven't given me a hard time yet, so for now it's all good.
Well, have fun and keep doing it. In our remaining moments, and literally moments so sadly, where can our friends and fans reach you, access the e-guides, and partake of your expertise much more personally?
Well, the website is called www.ballparkeguides.com. Don't forget the E, and there's no dashes in it. It's just one word, ballparkeguides.com. There's lots of stuff you can read on the site about any of the ballparks that I've written guides for. If you sign up for the newsletter, I'll send you different kind of news and stories, and I put in discount coupons in the newsletter every week, so I like to think that that's worthwhile. I got a Facebook page, Twitter. I try to be everywhere, but it's www.ballparkeguides.com, and you can go there and have a look around, and there's some good, useful information on the site if you'd just like to hang out there.
Well, it's really been a treat having you. It always is. And as we get down into the summer, we'll talk about the races. We have a prediction in from Denny McClain earlier. He says the Tigers are going to run away with everything because they're in the weakest division, and you know, having the hitters that they do, they're just going to tear everything up. And I mean, put it this way, from his lips to God's ears, I'm sure we're going to have a lot of those discussions. But I did want to make recordation, say that 5 times fast, of that prediction. Kurt, be well. Continue to let us know what you're doing, and have a great week. And we'll be talking in the very near future.
Great. It's always a pleasure to be on your show, Tony. I appreciate you having me on.
Thanks so much. And that was Kurt Smith, thank you, of Ballpark E-Guides. And with that, we're going to go to a commercial, and we're going to do something here we haven't done in a long time. Our segment of You Can't Make This Stuff Up. There have been developments in this state alone, in this region alone, that frankly would curl the hair on your head. Even some people who may not have hair on their head. It's really unbelievable. But Tony DeAngelo here, getting close to home plate here in Connecticut morning. Right back after this.
Beneath the cover of another perfect wonder, where it's so white as snow, privately divided by a world so undecided, and there's nowhere to go. In between the cover of another perfect wonder, and it's so white as snow, running through the field where all my tracks will be concealed, and there's nowhere to go. Oh! When to descend to amend for a friend all the channels that have broken down. Now you bring it up, I'm gonna ring it up just to hear